In the world of glittering lights, where every second counts and every beat reverberates across millions of hearts, the return of BLACKPINK with their much-anticipated track Jump was meant to be nothing short of historic, a thunderous roar following a 3-year silence. Fans had waited with breath held, dreams suspended in time, counting down days, hours, and seconds until the iconic quartet would once again redefine the soundscape of global K-pop. And when Jump finally landed in mid-July, it didn't merely drop, it exploded. The track instantly soared to number 1 on Spotify's global chart within 24 hours, a triumph that felt inevitable for a group of BLACKPINK's caliber. But even as the crown was placed on their heads, a shadow quietly slid across the stage, one that no one saw coming.
In the noise of célébration, en cette ligne silence loomed.
Something wasn't right. The numbers were off. The streams began to dip. And then, whispers turned to headlines. It all started months earlier, like the first crack in glass, barely noticeable but dangerously telling. In April, eagle-eyed fans noticed something off about BLACKPINK's official Spotify profile. The group's signature image, familiar to millions, had been mysteriously replaced with a picture of another girl group, Kiss of Life. At first, it seemed like a glitch, a digital hiccup in the world of ever-moving algorithms. But the timing was too sharp, too deliberate. Just days prior, a series of training-era videos featuring BLACKPINK members had resurfaced, stirring controversy due to past cover songs that included culturally insensitive lyrics. As criticism mounted online, the sudden hijacking of their Spotify profile began to feel less like coincidence and more like sabotage. Then, the edits escalated. On their song Shut Down, fans discovered that a preview clip had been maliciously replaced with an inappropriate animated snippet, entirely off-brand, totally unauthorized. And just when it seemed the issue might settle into a forgettable footnote in the band's long history, Jump dropped, and the chaos resurfaced with greater force, like an echo building into a scream. The comeback that should have been flawless began to fracture in real time. While Jump dominated streaming charts in its first 6 days, staying glued to the number 1 spot with relentless momentum, everything changed on day 7. Without any prior warning, the track plummeted to number 4, shedding over 1 million streams overnight. For a global juggernaut like BLACKPINK, such a sudden nosedive felt unnatural. Their fandom, deeply analytical and fiercely protective, began investigating. What they found sent ripples of alarm across the K-pop community. BLACKPINK's Spotify account, it turned out, had once again been compromised. This time, the credits for Jump had been stealthily reassigned to obscure artists named Blocky and Nerium. The alteration didn't just confuse fans, it dismantled the track's trajectory. Jump was swiftly removed from major playlists, lost autoplay placements, and vanished from the curated streams that had kept it climbing. The date of the credit change perfectly aligned with the sharp decline in streams, a pattern too precise to dismiss. As the data became public, fans were no longer suspicious, they were furious. And yet, BLACKPINK's management company, YG Entertainment, remained silent. What startled many was not just the hack itself, but the systemic vulnerability it exposed. How could one of the world's biggest musical acts, armed with millions of followers and backed by a billion-dollar industry, fall prey to repeated breaches across multiple platforms? The answer lay not in technology alone, but in something deeper, an intersection of fame, scrutiny, and perhaps deliberate targeting. The attack wasn't isolated to Spotify. Soon, reports began surfacing about Apple Music. Listeners noticed the group's description was changed from BLACKPINK to the BLACKPINK, a minor tweak, but one that echoed the subtle distortions from previous breaches. Stranger still, playback speeds were tampered with, causing songs to fast-forward unpredictably, skewing listening metrics and manipulating chart performance. Some songs even vanished completely from Apple's daily charts. Even Shazam, a platform usually untouched by such drama, didn't escape. BLACKPINK's artist profile began reflecting incorrect or manipulated data, adding to the swirling confusion. Across every major digital music landscape, the pattern repeated like a haunting refrain: distortions, disruptions, deletions, and still, no official word. In any other context, such setbacks might have been brushed off as digital errors. But this was BLACKPINK, an act that defines global standards, sets fashion trends, and transcends borders with every release. And Jump wasn't just another song, it was a statement, a comeback shaped by years of anticipation and artistic evolution. Fans had clung to the hope that this return would be powerful and pure. Instead, it became a battlefield, where art clashed with algorithms, and silence spoke louder than support. Still, the song performed exceptionally well, perhaps too well for those who didn't want it to succeed. Without traditional promotions, media circuits, or flashy rollout campaigns, Jump had managed to dominate organically. Its lyrics, rhythm, and power had created a cultural moment. Yet that very authenticity might have made it a target. In a landscape where manufactured success is often protected by money and media, a genuinely beloved track threatening to rewrite the rules was a risk. And that's when the erasures began. What's chilling isn't just the thought of hackers infiltrating BLACKPINK's digital space. It's the idea that the digital spaces themselves, designed to amplify music, can be weaponized to silence it. The fact that algorithms can be disrupted so easily, that song credits can be reassigned without alarms, and that international hits can be dragged from charts overnight, raises urgent questions about who holds the power in the age of streaming. Is it the artist? The platform? Or those lurking in the code, unseen and untraceable? BLACKPINK, with all their influence, seemed helpless in the face of these silent attacks. And as YG Entertainment refrained from releasing any public statement, the fans felt abandoned, like their voices were echoing into a void no one wanted to acknowledge. In an era where fandom is activism and charts are battlegrounds, the lack of transparency felt like betrayal. Fans flooded Twitter, TikTok, and forums, not just with frustration but with data, evidence, timestamp screenshots, and detailed timelines of every anomaly. This wasn't just stanning, it was digital forensics. And yet, amid the confusion, something beautiful persisted. The very thing the attacks tried to dismantle, the song, the spirit, the movement, refused to disappear. Jump remained a phenomenon. Despite sabotage, it trended. Despite silence, it was heard. Despite manipulation, it connected. Fans rallied not just to defend BLACKPINK, but to celebrate them. Streaming parties multiplied, reaction videos surged, and Jump became more than a song, it became a symbol. A declaration.
A refusal to be silenced.
And perhaps, this was the true power of BLACKPINK, not their dominance, but their resilience. Their ability to rise even when algorithms falter. Their capacity to shake the world even when the system trembles. In an industry that thrives on control, BLACKPINK reminded everyone that real impact doesn't come from polished promotions or perfect conditions. It comes from something raw and real. From full voices refusing to be dimmed. So here we are, weeks after the storm began, and the silence from their agency still lingers like fog after rain. YG Entertainment has offered no apology, no explanation, no plan of action. But maybe, in a strange way, that silence only amplifies the sound of the fans. The people who won't let this story be buried. The ones who recognize that something was wrong and refuse to let it go unspoken. The ones who see BLACKPINK not as products, but as pioneers. And as Jump continues to play across headphones, speakers, and concert halls, its rhythm carries more than melody. It carries a message. One that hackers couldn't erase, that silence couldn't mute, and that charts couldn't define. Because this comeback wasn't just about reclaiming a crown. It was about proving that even when everything around you is being tampered with, your voice, your work, your legacy, you still have the power to break through. To jump. To rise. To be heard. Even if the system tries to turn the volume down.